first piece of that, right? Like I had to believe fully in the fact that this was possible, that I knew that we could do it. And I did not, even having the idea, maybe we wouldn't get endorsements, it didn't stop me. And so I think that determination, the grit that went behind it, I mean, this campaign started at my dining room table, which evidently, actually, it happens also to be the table where my grandmother and my grandfather would bring our family around the table on the weekends. And it's where our family discussed politics from the time I was almost born. So it's like the place I first had my introduction to politics. And it was really like the belief of that in myself and understanding that this was possible that allowed me to get to this place where we've now been endorsed by so many groups. And I can't tell you how many people told me no, right? And I'm talking also about electeds saying, I would really love your support. No response. I'd really love your support. No response. And like coming back. And I am absolutely unrelenting. And so nothing has come through myself or this campaign in an easy way, but I put my head down, and this has been my philosophy my whole life. I put my head down, I put my blinders on, I stayed in my lane, so to speak. And the first endorsement that we got was the Working Families Party. And I feel so proud of that endorsement because they were brave enough to stand with us when nobody else was. And that was the endorsement that also made this campaign legitimate because they are a political party in New York and across the country that people respect, that this progressive movement has not only, been linked in arms with, but is one that gave us the beginnings of a firm foundation. And from there, then, we applied for, by the way, this is important to note, I have done so many campaign trainings, and I don't remember, for some reason, it doesn't seem to be emphasized. The endorsement piece of this campaign has been so intense because every endorsement requires a questionnaire that you fill out. And these questionnaires go on and on for pages. And listen, they're very important to really make, at least myself as a candidate, to really solidify my positions on specific policy issues. But my goodness, they take up so much time. And so every endorsement we've gotten, we fill out a questionnaire, of course, with the exception of some of the elected officials. No elected officials have given us a questionnaire to fill out, right? Like if a conversation gave us a questionnaire, I think I'd be like, what is going on here? But, the grassroots was like the real beginnings of this race. And so all the indivisibles, we filled out that questionnaire. When they came out for us, I felt even stronger. And then from that point on, they were able to not only spread the word for us in mass, because there's so many people who are knocking on doors and making phone calls and sending postcards and sending text messages, but then it's through that, they've gotten so much respect since 2016 from all of the elected officials. And so what it did was it helped us to gain more attention. And honestly, it was, for me at least, it was making that list and making sure that every questionnaire was filled out, that we continued to work really hard and gave as much grassroots support as we possibly could. And then that gave us the springboard to then say, okay, on to the next thing, right? So Planned Parenthood and NIRH, which are two just massively respected organizations for women's issues, really were, two of the proudest I can tell you that I've received, primarily because in this race, I'm running against somebody who in the last election cycle sent out a mailer that said he was endorsed by Planned Parenthood falsely. And Planned Parenthood responded back and said, not only are you not endorsed by us, you didn't take this bill that was so important for women out of committee to make sure that it mattered. You missed the vote. And I thought that was pretty much just one of the most exciting pieces of this race because it was just exactly what we've been fighting for, which is justice and truth was really very much, it came to fruition in a way. And so as a result, some elected officials also have come out to support us. Scott Stringer, who is the New York City Comptroller, the Speaker of the New York City Council, Corey Johnson, Congressman Nadler, former Congressman Rangel, former Mayor Dinkins. I'm sure that I'm forgetting some assembly members and city council members, City Councilwoman Carlina Rivera, Assemblywoman Julie New, really. And then tomorrow we have one of the biggest endorsements that we have received yet. And what I really want for listeners to understand is that in this, or in really any race, what happens is that each one builds upon the next one in such a way that lets you be strong and be able to to grow your campaign, and they matter because endorsements allow you to get more volunteers. If they're elected officials, they will send people to help you. And so, I mean, we could not do this really without the support of all the groups that have gotten behind us, and I feel just very much proud of that.
You recently, I believe, had a debate with your opponent, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that experience was like and sort of how you prepared for that.
Okay, so I have to just share with both of you because I also believe in being an emotionally honest leader and being vulnerable. And we've now had 4 debates, and from the first one to the 4th one, they are some of the scariest moments of my life on this planet, just so that you know. Listen, I have spoken almost every single day, all day long, about my issues and things I care about and all the things that he has done that are terrible, who I am. But when you get into that room and you sit down in that seat and you're sitting next to the person that you feel so strongly opposed against, it is very scary because you also, by the way, don't know what they're going to say, what arguments they're going to use against you, and you have to be so nimble on your feet. And the first debate that we had was with BronxNet. It was an interesting debate because I have never sat next to somebody who has actually lied as much as my opponent was doing. And it made my head spin a little bit in a way that I was almost like put back on my heels. But I took a deep breath. I sat down and I said, no, let me touch on the things that I know will resonate with the people who are listening and just stick to my script, which is the same thing I've been saying all the time. It doesn't matter all the things that he has accomplished. That's his job. What is also his job is to actually be a Democrat, which he promised all of us he would be. And that is resonating in a big way. And then the most recent debate, which was on New York One, which is a local station in New York, there were a few moments in that debate where he tried to get, his point across in a way that sounded persuasive. And if you had never known about anything before, it would sound pretty good. Except that since we had those 3 debates before, I really knew what he was going to say. And so it prepared me to really just call him out and say, actually, the false narrative that's being peddled is yours. And then he tried to cut me off, which is a thing that I, especially as a woman, I really do not like. And I specifically said to him in the debate, I know that you don't like when women speak up, but let me finish. And he did not like that. And that was just too bad. He has silenced so many women in New York, and I just won't tolerate it. And I felt like in that moment, I had the spirits of all the women that he's wronged inside of me to kind of go at him, which was just amazing. So it's scary. And I was talking to the day before, I was actually talking to Alessandra Biaggi about it. And I was like, what's your best advice? And she was like, it's a scary moment because you have to really be ready to go for each argument. But if you're prepared and you know your stuff, you can really do it. But my goodness, I don't think that probably ever gets easier. I really don't, because you never know what they're going to say. It was like going into the lion's den.
I'm sure all of our listeners are now completely convinced that they would like you to beat him.
Yes.
So how can they help? You've got the primary is coming up on September 13th. So what can they do between now and then to help you out?
There's a few things that help this campaign. The first is you can follow us on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Our handle is at Biaggi 4NY. B as in boy, IAGGI, the number 4NY. So that's a really important way because that's the way that we get our message out. It's the way that we have been able really to communicate to people in an important way. And it's really where people are paying attention these days because nobody's really watching TV. The second way, you can sign up to volunteer at our website. Our website is biaggi4ny.com. And you can contribute because in this last 2 weeks, I should say, of this election, Get Out the Vote which is also known as GOTV, is the most important time because it's all the work that we have done for these past 9 months now. Now we have to turn out the vote. And turning out the vote is no easy task. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of money. We need literature. We need to make sure that we have bodies on the ground. And we want to be as prepared as possible because our message is working. It is resonating. People are fired up and they want new leadership. And we have a really amazing opportunity right now to change the dynamic of our state government in New York in a way that we have never done before. And it's incredibly exciting, but it's also, it makes me realize that we have a large responsibility here. And so we want to be as strong as we can on Election Day.
All right. Excellent. We'll put those links up on our website as well.
Thank you so much.
We'll let you go get some rest after your super long day. But thank you so much for talking to us. And I'm really excited about all the really strong progressives running in New York this year.
That's right. Thank you both for having me on. Honestly, we're just trying to fight the good fight here. Thank you, really.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi, Broads. This is Frida Ajette, founder of The Courage to Run, inviting you to the nation's first nonpartisan 5K run and walk and premier party celebrating the rising wave of women running for office. Join us on September 16th in Washington, D.C. and across the country virtually. Because let's face it, whether running a 5K or toward Election Day, it takes courage. Join the D.C. flagship event and finish line party with speakers, live music, a civic fair, and plenty of family fun. Or run virtually. It's super simple. Choose your route and post a finish line photo with the Courage to Run 5K hashtag on social. We mail you everything you need: bib, medal, t-shirt, and a customized training plan to exercise your mind, body, and leadership. This is truly a nonpartisan event. Democrats, GOP, and everyone in between are coming together to celebrate this record-breaking year. Cheer women on to finish the midterm strong and exercise the needed endurance for the marathon toward parity. Proceeds support 19 organizations devoted to training the next generation of civic leaders. Register today at couragetorun.org. Go strong, be you, let's bring on the courage.
Tonight joining us is Caitlin Clarkson Pereira. She is a Democrat looking to run for the Connecticut House of Representatives to represent District 132. Welcome, Caitlin.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Can you sort of let our listeners know a little bit about who you are and what made you want to run for the Connecticut House?
Sure. So my background is in counseling and in education, particularly higher education. So I've spent most of my professional career working at a variety of universities. And I never saw myself getting too involved in politics. I was definitely somebody who paid attention and who was willing to volunteer in small ways. But then the 2016 election happened, and I realized, wow, we really need more women to be involved. Not only do we have a lack of women in the seats, but we don't even have women running. And as a mother to at the time, almost 2-year-old daughter, I didn't know exactly how to go about running for office. And when I mean didn't know exactly, I mean I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. And just try to make connections with folks who had been in politics and who I felt like I could trust and that were leading me in the right direction. And somehow the stars aligned. And now I am the endorsed Democratic candidate in the 132nd District, which every time I say that is still a little bit strange to me. But, running, knowing that there is such a need for the female voice at the table in a variety of ways. In education, which is a female-dominated field, so much of our leadership is made up of men. So to know what that feels like in a different profession, on a different level, thinking what it would be like to have a lot of women at the table to make some of these really critical decisions that impact our families, our lives, our bodies. But it's time for more women to be elected.
So can you tell us a little bit about where the 132nd district is? I'm shocked that a state the size of Connecticut could fit 132 districts in it. Although it has even more than that. I believe it has 151 districts total. So whereabouts in the state is your district, and what does it kind of look like?
My district is Fairfield, part of Fairfield, so like the beach area, because we're on the coast of Long Island Sound, and then up towards the middle of the town behind, we have 2 universities in town, Fairfield University and Sacred Heart University, so up behind Fairfield University, and then all of the village of Southport, And I actually grew up in this district and went to school in this district, which is really fun to knock on doors and have it have an old peer answer the door or have somebody's parents answer the door. But we're in a great spot. It's a quick, hour, 15